The Day of Judgment. Islamic scripture describes it as a time when every single soul will be gathered together. But have you ever stopped to think about the sheer logistics of that? I mean, how is a cosmic event of that magnitude actually managed? Well, that's what we're going to explore today. The absolutely crucial role the angels play as the divine administrators of this whole affair.
All right, so before we can really dig into what the angels are doing, we've got to set the stage. We need to understand the event itself, that final day which is known as QIYAMAH.
Now, the sheer scale of QIYAMAH, you can really feel it in its different names. It's not just called the Day of Judgment. The text also referred to it as the Day of Being Assembled, the Day of Being Gathered Together, and the Day of Being in Attendance. You see the pattern, right? Each name just hammers home this one central idea. Everyone will be there. Every single soul.
And yeah, this is a universal appointment. No exceptions. The text makes it super clear it doesn't matter who you were or what your status was on earth. Believers, disbelievers, criminals, victims, the rich, the poor, every single soul is going to be standing there together. And here's the kicker. In that moment, the only thing that defines you is what you did during your life. Your deeds are your entire resume.
Okay, so you can't have an event of this magnitude without some serious management, right? It's not just cosmic chaos. And that brings us to the main players in this explainer. The whole thing is run by divine organizers, the angels who govern.
And let's be clear, these angels are not just passive observers floating around. The Quran paints them as active, hands-on administrators. They have very specific jobs. They're the witnesses to our actions, they're the ones who gather the souls, and they're the executors of divine justice. And it's all done exactly as God commands.
In fact, the Quran gives them a specific title, al-Mudabbirat, which literally means those who govern the event. And get this, their role isn't just for Judgment Day. This term refers to the angels who are managing the affairs of the entire universe every single day. We're talking everything from weather patterns to the rise and fall of civilizations, all according to a divine plan.
And check out this passage from the Quran. It just illustrates this idea so powerfully. It talks about cosmic forces, stars, meteors, all of it, and directly ties them to the work of these angels. The message here is crystal clear. The universe isn't just a bunch of random chaos. It's an incredibly intricate, divine plan, and these beings are the ones carrying it out.
You know, this all leads to a very logical question, one that the source says disbelievers actually asked. It's like, okay, if these super powerful beings are running the whole show, why can't we see them? Where are they? It's a totally fair challenge, a demand for some real, tangible proof.
Well, believe it or not, the scripture gives a very, very specific answer about when and how we'll finally see them. And it's not going to be subtle. It's an event described as nothing less than a grand descent. And here it is, right from the text. The angels will come down. But, and this is a big but, it won't be on our terms or on our schedule. Their arrival is saved for a day so huge, so monumental, that the sky itself will literally be torn apart. The source could not be clearer. This is not a subtle little visit. It's an overwhelming grand descent.
So let's just break down the sequence of that day step by step as it's described. First, the world as we know it is just gone. The earth is ground to atoms. Then the Lord comes, and with him, the angels. And they're not just showing up in some big crowd. They appear in perfect formation, rank on rank. And then, as if that's not intense enough, hell is brought near. I mean, what a vivid and absolutely terrifying progression of events.
I mean, just try to picture that for a second. The sky, the very fabric of the heavens, is described as becoming weak, splitting apart, and right there at the edges of the horizon, the angels finally appear for everyone to see. It's not just about, seeing something new, it's about our entire reality fundamentally breaking open to reveal them.
All right, so the angels have arrived in this incredible grand descent. So what now? What's their actual job in the main event? Let's zoom in to the very center of it all, the judgment and the throne.
The scripture paints this absolutely stunning picture. Countless angels are thronging, basically crowding, all around the divine throne, just praising God. This tells us they aren't just cosmic police officers. They are active, worshipful participants in this ultimate display of divine majesty.
And here's a crazy detail. Inside that massive, uncountable crowd of angels, the scripture gets super specific. It says on that day, 8, just 8, incredibly powerful angels will be the ones holding up the throne of God.
It's a small detail, but it adds this sense of deliberate, profound structure to a scene that's almost impossible for us to imagine.
And right then, in that moment, with the throne there and all the angels bearing witness, that's when it all becomes intensely personal for every single soul. We're talking absolute, total transparency. The source says, not a secret of you will be hidden. Every action, every thought, every intention, it's all laid out in the open for judgment.
But, for some people, the sight of these majestic angels isn't a source of awe at all. It's a source of pure terror. And this brings us to what happens to the guilty, a concept the text calls a forbidding ban.
Yeah, the text is brutally direct about this. For those who are found guilty, seeing the angels is the final nail in the coffin. It's confirmation that there are no more second chances, no way out. The text says there will be no good tidings for them. Instead, all that's left for them to do is cry out in total despair, a forbidding ban.
So what does that phrase, a forbidding ban, actually mean? Well, scholars have looked at this, and there are two main ways to understand it. The first is that it's the angels themselves making a final declaration to the guilty, basically saying success is forbidden to you from this day on. But the other interpretation is that it's the cry of the guilty themselves, a desperate plea to get away, to create some distance from the terrifying final judgment the angels represent.
And that really brings us to our final thought here. A theme that keeps popping up in these passages is memory. The scripture says something like, on that day, man will remember. But what good will remembering do him then? As every secret is exposed and the final judgment is passed, it really leaves us with a powerful question to chew on. When it's all said and done, what is it exactly that they will remember?